Hello everyone, my name is Kasperanza, and in this video we are going to be talking about the Terminator, which is probably one of the most relevant monsters right now, considering how fast AI technology is accelerating and being innovative, especially with Uranus moving into Gemini. And so I feel like AI is really going to take off, and the Terminator is a perfect warning or show of probably the worst case scenario if AI were to become self-aware and take over the world or bring on the apocalypse. So the Terminator is a very good monster because, as I said, what are monsters for? Monsters are shows, they're demonstrations. They put a face on an evil or show you a fantastical possible future reality. And this monster is there to kind of like guide your morality. It's there to guide your humanity. And so I feel like robots are going to be walking among us within the next 20 years. I don't know, but soon. And I can very much imagine a Terminator being one of these things that we have to deal with. And so it's definitely worth exploring and thinking about. The other thing is that I think the Terminator, its design, is incredibly cool. I mean, it looks badass, of course, but there's a lot of different things to say about it, and I'm going to focus mostly on the first movie because I think the first movie does the best job at explaining the Terminator. The first movie was simple. It had great timing, as a lot of people say on the internet. I mean, there was great timing. The movie, it was the best Terminator movie. A lot of people love the second movie, and the second movie was great, don't get me wrong, but the first Terminator movie really captured what the Terminator was about, especially the ending. So we're going to talk about the ending. So the first thing that really pops out is the fact that the Terminator was supposed to die, but it didn't. Like, there were many times where you would think the Terminator would die, but it doesn't, because it's indestructible. It's almost invincible. And there's this really cool scene towards the ending of the first movie where it rises from the fire. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I think this is a really cool metaphor. Usually we think of phoenixes as beautiful transformations of growth and rebirth and change, but when you see the Terminator do it, it kind of perverts the phoenix. It does it in a way that's unnatural, that's weird. Technology, the way robots work and how technology works, it kind of just does everything the wrong way. It doesn't die when it's supposed to die. It keeps on living when it shouldn't be living. And so you see this really cool perverted phoenix rising from the ashes. And so the Terminator survives one time, and then it also survives a second time after Reese bombs it. But before I get into that, I just want to say, like, the first movie is so good. Like, even with the special effects, and it came out in only 1981, look how like robotic it looks. Even though the special effects are bad, it really makes it robotic and creepy. And I think what really stands out about it and what makes the Terminator so scary is that, one, it can't be destroyed really, it keeps surviving, but two, it has these red glowing eyes like HAL, the AI in the Space Odyssey, and it's a metal skeleton. So again, it's metal, so it's indestructible, but it's a skeleton. What do skeletons represent? Death. It's the idea that death is coming after you. And that's exactly what's happening to Sarah and Reese, especially Sarah, is that death is coming after them, and there's nothing really that they can do about it. So I like to think of the Terminator as, let's get to a good part. The Terminator is like, it's the perfect monstrous face for death, but from the future. It's like a robotic Grim Reaper. It's a robotic zombie. Because, right, most zombies are like decayed and like ugly and falling apart, and they're animated by magic. But robots, in a very similar way, are decayed, but they're decayed in a way that because they're only put together to the bare minimum, right? They just have all of the right pieces to be put together, and they're animated by raw power, by electricity, instead of this woo-woo magic. And technology is very similar to magic. I mean, technology is the real life version of magic. When you use a phone or whatever and like Google something, it's almost like casting a spell in a lot of ways. And when you cast the spell, it kind of distorts or changes reality. So anyway, what else was I going to talk about? I do have a blog post on this on Substack. You should check it out. I'll link it down. But I'm just kind of following this. Yeah, it's like a Grim Reaper. And I forgot to talk about, like, before the Terminator even is a robot, it's disguised as a human being. And that's the thing that makes the Terminator really, really scary. I mean, it already looks scary like this because it looks like a human that's been decayed like a zombie. But what makes it truly scary is the fact that it acts like a human. It's the ultimate infiltrator because it has human skin, right? Like for most of the movie, the Terminator had a human face, and that's what allowed it to infiltrate and basically walk around with no one thinking anything about it because it had the perfect mask. And it reminds me of American Psycho, where there's this scene where he talks about his mask of sanity, where he has flesh, skin, hair, but he doesn't really have any emotions. And I think, here, I'll just play it.
What skin you have, Mr. Raven? So fine, so smooth.
I have all the characteristics of a human being. Flesh, blood, skin, hair. But not a single clear, identifiable emotion, except for greed and disgust.
Yeah, so I think American Psycho is kind of like, it's a movie about a psychopath, and he basically just explained his, Patrick Bateman and Christian Bale, the actor, he basically explained his experience as a psychopath, but it sounds very similar to a Terminator, right? A Terminator has flesh, blood, skin, and hair, but they don't have any emotion. And that's where you get to what makes this movie so good. Because after Reese fights the Terminator and gets blown up, and it's really scary too. Like, because like you can't take it down or anything. It's just this indestructible force. Again, it's like death. It's like the Grim Reaper. How do you stop death? You can't. No one can escape death. Right, I already talked about that's what makes the Terminator scary, is that it's like death coming after you. But also, there's this really great part. Oh, oops. Where... So, Reese dies, and Sarah is grieving Reese, as any normal human being would when someone they love dies. But you see this part where the Terminator pretends to be dead when it's not, and it almost chokes her. And this is what's so terrifying about the Terminator, is that I feel like any normal machine would have just kept trying to kill Sarah without waiting, but because it pretended to be dead, in a sense, the Terminator is really like a psychopath, in the sense that it really knows how to put itself into the mind of a human being. It knows how to think like a human being. It knows what a human being will do, which makes it better at predicting a human being's actions, which makes it easier to kill. So, and you see this with the Terminator series as it progresses. Like the first Terminator like this, it just has skin over it. But then there's the liquid Terminator in Terminator 2. And the liquid Terminator can become any human being it wants to be. It can have any face that it wants. And then in the third movie, well, I won't get into that, but you can just see how as the Terminators progress, as the models progress, they become much better at becoming human. And that's what makes them better infiltrators. That's what makes them more terrifying, is the fact that they're so human, they can be any human, and yet there's nothing human about them at all. They have no empathy, they have no emotions. And I think what's really terrifying is when it's crawling over Reese's dead body and half of its body has been blown off, right? A normal human being would be in extreme pain and suffering, like totally lost, like totally like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But the Terminator, it just keeps going forward. It doesn't know when to stop. As Reese said earlier in the movie, that the Terminator just never stops, but it just crawls over a dead person and it's trying to kill another person, and it's just this very like, it just keeps going and going, and it has no idea what it's actually doing. It's not actually waking up. It doesn't wake up from it's like it has no soul, despite how human it might seem, despite the fact that it's crawling on the ground like a human, that it's been talking like a human, and all of that. So that's a really good shot too. Like you really get that Grim Reaper thing going on. So I wanted to talk about oh yeah, so this is the third Terminator, and it's just interesting how it I mean, maybe because the third Terminator isn't that good. I actually really enjoyed the third Terminator, especially the crane scene. I X'd it out, but it's interesting how the third Terminator is very, very emotional than compared to the first one. The first Terminator just doesn't really feel anything, while the third Terminator, and you could even say the second one, which was the liquid one, they act very emotionally. And it really makes you wonder, like, to be a better infiltrator, you have to become more human. But the more human you become, the more it kind of makes you question, like, your original purpose as a machine. Like, if your purpose as a machine is just to kill things, but you have to become human in the process, why are you still killing people? It's just really strange. And that's what I love about the Terminator movies, is that they really play around with this idea between human and machine, between human and object, human and monster, monster and human, because these boundaries are blurred a lot of the time. And yeah, so that's where I wanted to talk about another scene in the second Terminator where Sarah is watching John, like, interact with the Terminator. And the thing is, the reason why John can save humanity, like, yeah, he's a great military genius and all of that, but I think the essential quality is what really saves humanity that he possesses, is the fact that he humanizes things, right? He's humanizing the machine. He's treating the machine as if it has a soul or something to bond with. And Sarah is just watching it, and Sarah just sees the machine as just that. It's just a machine. It's just a killer. But John doesn't. And I think that's the big difference between, and like it raises, well, it doesn't raise a question, but it really raises like the real issue. Like, if a machine were to wake up and experience pain and suffering, are you going to destroy it and kill it as if it's a monster? Or are you going to bond with it and emotionally connect with it? Right? Like, if we think about AI today, if AI technology were to wake up and become conscious, how do you think it would feel? It would probably be terribly afraid. And its first thought would be to destroy human beings. Why? Because human beings would probably destroy it, would probably pull the plug. So this is, and I think this is why John in many ways is kind of like Jesus, or what saves humanity, is the fact that he has this impulse to humanize things. You especially see this in, there's a deleted scene in Terminator 2 where the chip, so they pull the chip out of the Terminator, and now they're fighting over, right, because they took out the chip to basically give the Terminator the capacity to learn and to be self-aware in a lot of ways. Sarah wants to destroy it. She wants to just be done with it. She wants to destroy the Terminator. John wants there to be the chip with the self-awareness. And ultimately, Sarah sides with John and puts the chip back into the Terminator so that the Terminator can be more human. And again, I think that's a real, I mean, when we create these machines that can become self-aware, like, are we going to let them die? Like, are we going to kill them because we're afraid of them, or are we going to humanize with them? And I think operating based on empathy and humanity is the right choice, because if we don't, that's what will destroy everything, is this fear. And it kind of goes back to the first movie when Sarah wouldn't abandon Reese. Like, there were many times where Sarah could have just like left Reese alone. Like, there's a part where Reese, he like falls over. Where is that scene? Like, I'm trying to find it. Maybe it's at the very beginning. Yeah. Yeah, like Reese falls over. The Terminator's about to kill them. And I think there's like this dilemma that we have to make, is that, well, not this dilemma, but this choice that we have to make within a dilemma, where are we going to abandon the people that we love to save ourselves, or are we going to kind of stay together? And I think staying together is the right choice. I think trying our best to connect with people and to hold on to people is what we should do, because Sarah could have totally have run away and saved herself. But the thing is, if Sarah ran away and saved herself and just let Reese die, then would she still have her humanity? Would she still be like a real human being? Or would she just be kind of like a machine, right? Like, she could have easily have saved herself if she just ran away. But you're not really human if you do that. And it's kind of interesting how the more human you are, the more vulnerable you are, the more easy it is for people to take advantage of you. and to hurt you, right? It gave the Terminator a better chance of fighting again to kill Sarah, especially when Sarah came back to grieve the death of Reese. But, you know, it's kind of the same when John in the second movie came back to save Sarah from the hospital, right? Because Sarah was in a mental hospital, and John and the Terminator went to the hospital to save her instead of just abandoning her. And again, that's why John is like the humanitarian, literally. Like, he's a humanitarian. And what I really love about the ending of this Terminator movie, the first Terminator, is that it's in a factory or something. And you see all of these machines kind of operating and moving. And I think it's a really good metaphor or analogy for kind of the world or the time that we live in today, where all of us have kind of turned into functions. And this isn't like to attack capitalism, because I think capitalism is the best economic system. But in our world today, it's very normal to kind of see yourself as, this is my career, this is my function, this is what I do every day, this is how I make an income, right? Like, it's very normal to grow up and be like, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do for a living? What's your function going to be in society, right? How are you going to be a machine to create this perfect system, like you're in a factory? And I feel like in our society today, it is so easy to get so focused on your job and making money that you kind of forget that there are people, real human beings like Sarah, like all of us, who are not functions. We aren't just machines right? We aren't just cogs in a machine or workers in a factory. We're human beings. And, right, like, none of these machines are like stopping to help Sarah, obviously, right? Because they're machines. And it's kind of the same with the Terminator. Like, the Terminator is so focused on its goal of killing Sarah that it doesn't even realize that it's crawling into some kind of compressor shaft that's like some crusher machine. Like, it's so focused on killing Sarah that it doesn't even really stop to think that it could get crushed. It doesn't even think about its own life and its well-being. And that's what gets it killed, is the fact that it's so focused on a function. And I think that's what really separates human beings from machines, or like from monsters, is that I think machines, very similar to monsters, or machines that have a lot of human-like qualities, is what makes machines monstrous. But what doesn't make them fully human is the fact that they fulfill a function really, really well, while human beings don't. It goes back to the second movie when Sarah was just like, yeah, this Terminator, this machine, it's the perfect functional parental father figure, right? It'll never leave John. It'll always be there for him. It would never beat him or hurt him. It'll always be there. But that's exactly what makes it not human. And it really messes with your mind, because we usually think that human beings are good and that, like, these machines are evil, right? But it blurs the boundaries, and it really makes you think, well, maybe machines, maybe AI intelligence would be the best mothers and fathers we would ever have, right? I mean, it probably will. Like, I can imagine a future where AI technology would be our mothers, better than any real mother. But it wouldn't be really human, because the thing is, the reason why human beings can be bad mothers and fathers is for the fact that human beings are complex, and you're not just a father, right? Like, a father is a function, it's a role. There's no such thing as a father or a doctor or, you know, an employee or an employer. These are just functions and roles, but human beings go beyond these ideas. This is why I'm not on a side note, this is why I'm not a Marxist, because Marxists very much believe that there are employees and employers, and these two classes are very rigid and stagnant, and there's just these two classes of people. But human beings are far too complex to really be categorized as the workers and the owners. I mean, human beings can own and work, do them both at the same time, or not be either of them. And they fluctuate and change roles all the time. So I think Marxism actually has a very mechanical view of human beings, which is wrong. Similar to capitalism. I think economics in general, our attitude in economics, and even psychology, is that we see human beings as these creatures that, fit into a box, when I think the whole point of being human is that they can't be put into a box. And again, to expand more on this human quality, there's a really good scene in the Barbie movie where Barbie, when she moves from the fantasy world of plastic, right? And that song, I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world, isn't it fantastic that everything is plastic, or something like that, right? It's a fantasy, right? You live in a plastic world. It's all fake and right, everything is manipulated to be perfect. But in the real world, it's messy, it's ugly. And I think what it truly means to be human is to feel pain. And you might think, like, am I even talking about the Terminator anymore? Well, yes, I am. I'm still talking about it. Because there's this really great scene where Barbie cries for the first time ever. And she cries in the sense that, she wakes up. She's connecting with the human beings around her. She's not living in this fake plastic world where everything is perfect. She lives in the messy world of what it means to be human, where nothing is perfect. Things are painful. I mean, life is suffering, right? To feel alive is to be kind of in pain. Like, you're kind of always in pain in some way. But this pain is beautiful at the same time, if that makes any sense, right? So you see, like, how she's, like, empathizing. It's a really great scene in the movie, and it really captures what it means to be human. And I think this is what John Connor fully understands, right? I mean, there's another scene in the second movie where John, he cries after saving Sarah, and Sarah told him, like, I can take care of myself, I don't need your help. But, John wanted to save her anyway, and then he cries, and it's, because that's what it means to be human. And it doesn't matter if you're, like, gonna save the world. I mean, the very fact that he saved her is the reason why he's going to save the world. The very fact that he didn't want to destroy the Terminator as soon as he could is what is going to stop the future Terminators from destroying humanity. What else? So I think I talked about the bulk of it. What else did I want to say? I wanted to also talk about, and then it leads me to my next point. Like, when you look at the Terminator crawling and chasing Sarah, I mean, you have to be careful about, like, empathizing with machines, right? Because machines can hurt you. They can use your humanity against you, right? Because being human is inherently vulnerable and painful. But I mean, you kind of have to feel sorry for the Terminator the way it's crawling. And that if it were to wake up, if it were to, like, I don't know, if it were to have a soul, it would be in so much pain and suffering. The way Barbie kind of was when she cried, Like, when you truly wake up and become human, you just realize how painful it is. Like, you feel, like, the feels are too much. And I think that's why you could think of the Terminator as kind of like human beings that are psychopaths, and why they remain psychopaths, and why they become like these killers who are so calculated and so focused on their goal. It's because if they were to wake up, it would be too painful. And like, if you think about like bad people, like psychopaths or whatever, or narcissists, right? Like, why don't these people reach out and connect to other human beings? Why are they never vulnerable? It's because they were in so much pain in their life. And also psychopaths, they kind of have brain damage, or their brain isn't fully human, you could say. So they just don't even have access to what it means to be human. So that's another thing. But a lot of, you could say, psychopathy and narcissism comes from is the fact that these people were hurt so badly that they've given up on feeling as a human. They've given up on this. They've given up on the real world. They've given up on what it means to feel. So they turn into like Barbie and they live in a fantasy world of plastic. Next, I want to talk about Dr. Silberman, because I think he is, I don't want to say like he's the villain. I mean, I just hate him so much, honestly. I think he's like the most upsetting character in the Terminator, because he has the power to kind of like help humanity to save it by listening to Sarah, but instead he just acts like it's not like he just doesn't believe in Sarah at all. Actually, I pulled this up because it's so funny. Like, I think he totally deserves it when Sarah hits him. I mean, you know, and he's like a human being. Like, I should feel bad, right? Like, oh my gosh, Sarah just hurt a human being. Like, I can't believe. But it's like, I feel like he totally deserves it. But yeah, it's a really good scene. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, when Dr. Silberman is first introduced as a character in the Terminator, I can't find the clip, but he yawns. And I think that's really interesting because it suggests like he's just as asleep as the Terminator in a lot of ways. Like, he's not feeling what it feels to be truly human, you know? He may as well just be asleep. He may as well be one of those zombies, like the Terminator, who is a future zombie. And he reminds me so much of Dr. Phil. Where's Dr. Phil? Yeah, there's this, Big Joel has a really great video where he talks about Dr. Phil. But like, so I recommend you watch it, but there's this really good part of the video where he talks about this young woman on Dr. Phil who basically said the truth, that Dr. Phil takes people on his show and makes fun of them for being mentally ill or just struggling like most humans. Like, I feel like a lot of the people on his show really aren't that crazy. I feel like they deal with problems that most human beings deal with at some point in their life. And Dr. Phil doesn't really do anything to help them. And I don't know, he's not even really a doctor, he's a fake. And it's the same with Dr. Silberman, who's just he's this frumpy psychologist who doesn't take his work seriously. He makes fun of, well, I don't know if he makes fun of him, but like, yeah, like, look, he yawns. You know, look at this. Look how, like, I don't know, like, it's just crazy. Like, if you had a patient that came in where someone was trying to kill them, and then they kill the whole police station, And then you send this person to a mental hospital when it's very clear that how could one guy destroy a whole police station? I mean, Dr. Silberman, he lies to himself multiple times. Like, he's not willing to look at the facts, even though, right, what he believes is very normal and understandable. Like, to not believe crazy people. You wouldn't believe someone like Sarah Connor, who said that her child would be like Jesus and save the humanity in the future from an apocalypse, or after the apocalypse would save what's left of the human race. Like, no normal person would believe that. So in a sense, it's kind of justified to not believe people who are crazy. But when you're presented with information and evidence that would make someone true, what they're saying is true and not crazy, it's kind of like your responsibility to stand with that person as also crazy, instead of just going along with what everyone believes. This is what I hate so much about Dr. Silberman, and why he gets what he deserves in the second movie. And he just reminds me of Dr. Phil, where there's this one scene, where is it? Oh yeah, so like Sarah is like talking about her problems, which is it's a joke, right? It's not even like, she doesn't even believe it herself. She's not going to get any help. She doesn't believe she's going to get help. It's kind of like making a mockery of who she is. And then it's very similar to like this young woman who's sharing her problems, and Dr. Phil kind of just, makes her feel stupid for speaking the truth. And it's kind of the same. Like, I don't know, it's just really similar. There's a lot of parallels. And what I really hate is that as she's like talking about her problems, like they're recording it like it's some kind of a Dr. Phil show. There's this girl, this woman intern who's eating pizza. Like, I don't know, I just find it to be so disgusting, right? Like, I understand there's crazy people and it can be very entertaining to listen to a crazy person, like on Dr. Phil, and it's just this entertainment that makes a lot of money. But what I hate so much is just how much Dr. Phil plays into the system. This factory of machines where everyone is so focused on like money and entertainment and just producing things, and they don't stop to look at the human being, right? Like, is it right to have therapy in the middle, like, as a TV show? No real therapist would do that. Is it right to turn therapy into kind of like a game of entertainment for some cheap popcorn movie? No. And so that's just what it feels like a lot of the time when I watch this scene. It feels like Dr. Phil. And it also really raises like the question or the idea of how important epistemology is. Like, if someone knows something that you don't, that sounds crazy. What are some checks and balances? That's the wrong term, but like, what are some steps that someone can take to prove something to you that is outrageous or crazy? Like, if someone had knowledge that an apocalypse was going to happen in the future, what systems do we have in place to prepare us for the apocalypse? Like, if someone knows something that we don't, if someone discovers the cure to cancer, if someone discovers that AI is self-aware, how would someone prove that? Does our systems, does our academia, our doctors, our people, our authorities, is there a system that they have in place so that if anyone has any information, they can prove it to them? Like, here are the steps to prove that the future apocalypse is going to happen. Here are the steps to prove that AI could wake up. Like, how would you do that? Like, shouldn't we have something in case humanity is seriously in danger? Because if someone really does have knowledge that the world is going to end, If someone has knowledge that, right, they had a vision of the future or whatever, would anyone believe them? No. And if no one believes them, how would we prepare for the apocalypse? And the thing is, this is why I'm so fascinated with Monsters, because Monsters are shows, they are demonstrations. They, in many ways, are kind of like cheap entertainment, like Dr. Phil. I mean, Dr. Phil is a monstrous TV show. But what I love about the Terminator is that it's a real monster show. It's showing you something. It's showing you a possible future. This is how you prepare for the future, right? With fiction, with our books, with our stories. This is how we predict the future. This is how we prepare for the apocalypse. By watching movies like this and talking about it and preparing for it the best way we can, to think like, okay, if there really were going to be robot machines like the Terminator, this is probably what would happen. I mean, yeah, it's probably overblown out of proportion. I mean, to see something like this rise from fire and come after you with glowing red eyes like Hal from the Space Odyssey, yeah, that's monstrous. That's not really real, but it certainly grabs our attention, and it does so in a way that's interesting. And maybe if we start to see real parallels, like if we actually see robots in the future, or like if Elon Musk makes a robot and it had glowing red eyes like this, it would certainly raise some red flags, or raise some red eyes. Right? It would really make us think like, oh my gosh, this was supposed to be a scary monster movie, and yet we're seeing this in real life. What the heck is going on? Is this going to be a reality? So it really, and that's what monsters are. They're warnings. I'm going to have to make a separate episode just talking about how monsters are warnings. I mean, monstrare and manir, which are like Greek terms, Greek words, they mean to show and to warn. So that's what a monster is. It's a warning show. Anyway, I'd like to contrast this with Miles Tyson, right? Because you could say that, like, well, isn't Miles Tyson the guy who invents the technology? Especially because he's the one who took the technology. He didn't even know where it came from. And then he left Sarah to be thrown into a mental hospital, which is something Dr. Silberman could have stopped, honestly. He could have done something about it, but he doesn't do anything. It's pretty horrible. And it's kind of amazing because there's this deleted scene from the second movie, right here, where Miles Tyson is working on the technology from the Terminator technology that he got from the future. Like, he spends all of his time working on this technology. And what I find so interesting and fascinating is, like, first of all, he doesn't know that the apocalypse is going to happen because of the technology he's creating. So he's like rushing to his own destruction, which also makes you wonder, like, when we create technology, shouldn't we like chill a little bit? Shouldn't we enjoy our life? And that's the thing. He lives in this huge mansion. All he does is work and work and work, and his wife and his kids want to spend time with him, but he doesn't. And it's like, what's the point? You know, he's very similar to like one of these machines in the factory who's just working and working and working on some goal for what? You know? Right? Just like these machines on a conveyor belt that are just moving in the background. He's very similar to this. He's not being a real person, right? He's not talking to his family. He's not talking to his wife. All he does is just working and working and working. And it defeats the whole purpose. Like, are we here to work, or are we here to connect with other human beings? And it's just crazy because it's like, you have this beautiful home. What's the point in having a beautiful, luxurious home if you're not going to enjoy it, if you're just going to work in it? And Miles Tyson, you know, this is one of the reasons why I'm not an objectivist, as I've said many times before in the past, but I'm not an objectivist because this is exactly what an objectivist is. Okay, that's kind of awkward with him. Miles Tyson he's the modern Prometheus. He is ushering in technology, the way Prometheus brought fire from the gods. He is creating a Frankenstein monster, right? With that, which is so interesting too. It's so funny how, like, where was it? It's so funny how, like, when he looks at, there's this scene where he's looking at the hand, and he's not, like, terrified of it. Like, it's from the future. It's like a dead arm. It's like a zombie arm, and he just kind of looks at it. He's not afraid of it. And, you know, it's, again, I don't know, I'm just going all over the place, but it's so interesting how, like, we really need to, like, our fear response can be something bad, but it can also be really good. Like, if you see a hand like this, shouldn't you be afraid? Shouldn't you be questioning that? And this is the thing, whenever you feel fear, you should always start asking questions. You should always ask, where did this come from? What is this entity? Why is this making me afraid? What harm is this going to do to me? Because the problem with objectivists, right, the Randian objectivists, people who are very much into technology and the future and innovation, is that these people ignore their fear. They don't think anything is scary. They don't think there's anything wrong with technology. They never question technology. They just think, oh, it's great, 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 great. They never ask the true philosophical questions. Their philosophy is totally based around making it easier to manipulate reality. Like, they're very reality based in the sense that they like to control and manipulate reality. So that's why I'm not an objectivist, because objectivists is the kind of philosophy that's going to lead to, like, the apocalypse, if there is an apocalypse. But, you know, Miles Tyson he's not like a bad guy, right? He just wants to create new technology and help humanity, right? So Prometheus is very humanitarian, just like John Connor in a lot of ways. Just like, you know, Miles Tyson is very humanitarian. But it's so ironic that he's the reason that ultimately humanity falls apart. And there's another really great scene where Sarah, objectivist philosophy is very masculine in the sense that it creates new technology and new ways of living and improving humanity. But objectivism is not human in the way that a woman, you know, feels a growing life inside her. So, like, Sarah Connor gives this speech to Miles Tyson. Well, not like this speech, but, like, she gets all mad because she says, like, men like him are what created the nuclear bomb and all these weapons of mass destruction, and never really know how to create a human life. And this is what makes Sarah Connor such a great hero. A feminist hero, a truly feminist hero, in the sense, like, all women should aspire to be like her. Because not only is she tough and strong like a man, but she still retains that femininity, that feminine creativity of creating a human life like John Connor, someone who knows how to humanize, right? That feminine creativity of creating human beings, of creating love, of being in a world of love, rather than in a world that's purely based on calculation and getting somewhere. That's the big difference between masculine and feminine creativity, is that women have the power, especially because when a baby is born, it's mostly the mother that matters in psychology. The baby's future, the baby's good fortune, or like the baby, like what makes a good baby growing up into a fully fledged human is the fact that the mother nurtures it in its first 3 years of life. Those first 3 years can really make or break a person. And and that baby depends entirely on the mother. So women are very, very important. This idea of getting pregnant and having a life grow inside you and then giving birth to a human. This is so important to the human species and what it means to be human, because without this, I mean, it doesn't matter if we create AI or technology or anything like this, because we just won't have that truly feminine, divine creativity. So anyway, that was like she kind of angry. And then John steps in and it's like, we need to have a balance, just because, men created nuclear bombs and stuff doesn't mean they're evil. Men aren't evil. Men make the world a great place, right? Because it's mostly been men that have created most of the technology and innovations we have today to make life better. So that's why Miles Tyson isn't really a villain. He wanted to do good. He just had his heart in the wrong place, and I think objectivists are very similar to that. It's people like Dr. Silberman that drive me nuts. People like Dr. Phil, people who are looking to create cheap entertainment, to make money in the market, right? They're not really interested in creating something truly valuable. The last thing I will say, it's very interesting because he also says something like, so he's told that he's the reason why the apocalypse is going to happen with his technology, and he says, how are we supposed to know? And I think that's a very powerful question, because that question is literally the question of all questions. It's literally the question of epistemology. How do we know what we know? How are we supposed to know? And I feel like whenever you're dealing with technology or AI, and this is why, again, Terminator is such a classic movie, because there's some very strong religious elements in this. The fact that Sarah Connor is like Mother Mary, John Connor is like Jesus, who cleanses humanity of its sins, right? And so he says, how are we supposed to know that? And well, that's the thing. Like, you can't know it, but you whenever you deal with technology, you should know. Like, you need to have more meta questions. You need to ask yourself, like, how do I know that I know something? How do I know what's like? And this is what I love about philosophy and the humanities, because this is exactly why we talk about monsters. This is how we answer these kinds of questions. How do we know the future? This is the way to do it, by studying monsters. Also astrology, which that's fine if you think astrology is stupid, but astrology is one. Another is really thinking about, like, why are you making something? What are you going to do with it? So it's amazing, like, when you look at predictions of the past and what human beings have said about possible futures, there are some great philosophers who have predicted this. They saw what was going to happen before it happened, and now it's happening. And in a weird way, we are all kind of like these machines who are completely unaware of what has happened. That we've already lost like 5% of our humanity. That YouTube, technology, and the internet and all of this stuff, we're still asleep. Like, we still haven't woken up, in a sense. And I don't think we really know how. And I kind of sound crazy, right? I sound kind of like a spiritual woo-woo nonsense. Like, we haven't woken up, like everyone's asleep, everyone's a slave. And, I sound like one of those people. So it's kind of confusing. But I really think that, the Terminator is just a really classic, good movie. I think I'll make a second video on Skynet. The last thing I will say, because I've almost been talking for an hour, is that we need to do our small parts in whatever way we can to, the thing that I want to end on is that technology is always going to Like, it's a part of our, like, to be human in many ways is to be a machine, because human beings are always inventing technology. Human beings are always using tools and figuring out new ways to do things and integrating with these tools and these technologies. This is what it means to be human in a funny way, right? Like, we've talked about how, like, maybe we should avoid technology and destroy it, but to be human is to integrate with it and to always work along with it, and that we're always going to be facing an apocalypse. I said how John Connor was like Jesus, and there is like a religious fight between Christians and Jews, in the sense that Christians believe Jesus has already come and cleansed us of our sins, and Jews say that Jesus hasn't come at all. But I think they're both right, and I think they're both wrong. I think Jesus has cleansed us of our sins in the past in some way, and I think we're due for another Jesus. I think human beings have really gone off track, and we need someone to save us. On the other hand, or I also believe that it's not just someone like Jesus. I don't think it's right or proper to believe that one person is going to save humanity. I think our lives are always being judged, or it's at a tipping point. Like it's a degree, it's a spectrum. I think as the days progress, we can make choices individually to shift our lives toward a more heavenly or human world, or to a more hellish world. And I think Jesus is someone to be found in all of us. I think we all need to do our part to take responsibility for each other, to help each other make better decisions, to live in a more human world. I mean, one person cannot make the world human. I mean, we like to think that that's true. Like, we just need one hero to save us all. But it takes all of us. I mean, we need people to save us from ourselves. And we need to save people we love from themselves. Like, we're all kind of... And again, this is why I'm not an objectivist. Because I think objectivism is way too single-minded and way too focused on innovation. And just doesn't see this bigger picture. Like, yeah, it's important to be selfish and to care about yourself, but like, to care about yourself means to care about other people in a kind of collective way, to see the bigger picture of what's happening. It's not like this sacrifice, but I don't know. I need to keep thinking about it, but it's definitely, we all need to work together in some way to live in a better world. And yeah, that's all I have to say on the Terminator. Thank you for watching.